All right, well, you heard the woman. It's time for us to go home and get what I call the hell up out of here. But before we go, around the pepper, you know how we do it. Three topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really here to engage, enlighten, educate, and entertain. The four E's in no particular order. With that being said, gentlemen, I'll go first. And I'm pretty sure we all can appreciate this one. On this day in history, back in 1920, the NFL is born right down the road here in Canton, Ohio, where 12 teams pay $100 each to join the American Professional Football Association, later renamed the NFL in 1922. So on this day in history,
$100.
yeah, a whole $100. A whole $100 you can take your team and join the league. Must be nice. Well, over to you, Scotty D.
This past weekend was a good fight weekend. The love letter to Mexico as the UFC fought in the Sphere. It was quite a spectacle. It was almost like the UFC, the cage was down in front of like his giant like Disney type uh of entertainment. It was quite a spectacle, and then the audience was like kind of float up behind. Really unique look to it. And then the fights happened, and there were a lot of good fights that night. A lot of Mexican fighters in the cage for that event. Valentina Shevchenko fought Alexa Grasso in the first ever female trilogy in the UFC. Alexa Grasso had upset Shevchenko for her title about a year and a half ago. I forget when it was anyway. And then they had a draw the second time, a split decision draw the second time. And this time Shevchenko slammed the door on the idea that there could be a fourth fight by dominating her. She won 5 rounds to none. It was very simple, and it was a lot of ground and pound. She took her down, ground and pound. Was not the most exciting fight. And then the main event was Marab Devashvili, or however you say his name, taking on
Close
the Sugar
enough.
Show. Marab, everyone called him Marab, and then he took on the Sugar Show, and it was a case of Marab circling, tackling, and riding him out, and it's awful. That's I love the UFC, but when you have a fight as those two were, where one only wants to wrestle and the other doesn't really have an option because you get tackled and held down, it really makes it tough for a tough viewing night. So I watched two 25-minute fights of one person laying on top of the other, and it just wasn't the best. And the right person won both fights, but come on, UFC. I want to watch the Ultimate Fighting Championships, not the Ultimate lay on a dude and win his title championship. Be live. Over to you.
Some of those fights they're so hard to watch because they call it technical, and it's like, yo, no, I want to see some violence.
Yeah, the
I want to see
wrestler,
some.
the guys who commit totally to wrestling, they just put on boring fights. And I know they're good, but whatever.
Yeah, but I still won't be sold to be watching that power slap mess. That's
No.
just wrong.
Yeah.
God bless America. Speaking of wrong things that's going on in the sports world, my first pepper point sort of hits close to home because we're talking about a star catcher that graduated from Coastal Carolina University out of Myrtle Beach, Conway, South Carolina, CCU, from Chanticleers. And he was a six-round draft pick out of Coastal Carolina this past July in the Major League Baseball draft. And I'm talking about a man by the name of Derek Bender. The Minnesota Twins drafted him, and he was playing for the Twins single A affiliate, the Fort Myers Mighty Mussels. And mussels, we're talking about these shellfish.
Gotcha.
But yes, there was a second game of the September 6th doubleheader. This happened a little over a week ago. Derek Bender, told multiple hitters for the Lakeland Flying Tigers, a Detroit farm team, Detroit Tigers. He was like, hey, he's about to throw a fastball. He's about to throw a curveball low and inside. He was tipping off the pitches to the hitters.
He was more than tipping
And
them.
yeah, jeez. And Lakeland scored 4 runs in the second inning. The Lakeland ended up winning the game 6-0 to clinch the Florida State League West Division and eliminate the Mighty Muscles from playoff contention after Fort Myers had held a 6-game lead 3 weeks earlier. The kicker to this story is the fact he did this because he was tired and wanted to go home. He didn't want to go into a playoff and spend even less time with his family. He just wanted to go home. And I guarantee you, you just found a way to spend a lot of time with your family because the Minnesota Twins released them entirely. Thank you for playing. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Spend all the time with your family. Eddie Cool, the ball.
The hell you do some mess like that for? For real. The hell you do some mess like that for? All right, well, hopefully I got some better news for you here. Um, Actually, no, I got my purple points mixed up. But guess what? In the tradition of Florida State, now going 0-3, guess how much they paid to take this ass whipping against Memphis? They paid $1.3 million. Come one, come on, step right on up. Come line up. Try your luck against Florida State University. And if you win, they'll pay you $1 million plus. Over to you, Scotty D. Ought to be ashamed of their damn selves.
So last week I went on a little bit of a mini rant about Pat Narduzzi, the head coach of Pitt,
Uh-oh.
and how I didn't really like the way he managed the clock and everything, and I said he relied on analytics and he was too old for that. Remember that, guys? I kind of went off a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this week was the backyard brawl, WVU at Pitt, and we had us another close game. And again, Pitt came out on top, so I should be happy. But late in the game, Pitt needed a stop to get the ball back, trailing 34-31. They're trailing, right? Okay. So Pitt gets a big-time sack with 2 minutes and 9 seconds remaining to get the ball back. It was a 3rd and long. Pitt gets a sack, 2 minutes, 9 seconds remaining. Pitt has 2 timeouts. And then they burn one right there, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Why is that a big deal? Well, because now there is a 2-minute warning in college football. So I ask you, should you not let the 9 seconds run down? And then immediately after, WVU is going to be punting, which stops the clock on a change of possession. And now Pitt, with approximately 1 minute, 50 seconds, maybe a little bit more than that, will have 2 timeouts in which to drive the length of the field and score a touchdown or kick a field goal. But no, they opt to take the timeout. The punt lasts 9 seconds, and there goes the timeout. Now, when you come back after the break, you only have 1 timeout with the 1 minute and 50 some seconds. Do I have to come down there and explain that to you, Narduzzi? Do I have to? Maybe because I've been spending my Sundays watching NFL. Maybe you've been watching film of college and you don't realize how the 2-minute warning works. But are you kidding me with that? You don't know how to do the math on that. Save your 2 timeouts and you get a bonus 1 with the 2-minute warning. Don't make me come down there. And don't make me come down there. Be live. Maybe they shouldn't be top 3. Maybe I was a little getting a little excited with that because they won. Anyway,
if he goes to Pitt, be live, we got to go with him.
Over to you, B.
Right. You gonna hire us to your staff, sir? I'm here for it.
I think Clemson's in town again this year.
Oh boy,
interesting.
I'll have to.
Do we care anymore?
If you, boy.
Hey, look,
it was fun. It was fun time to be had. It was definitely a fun time to be had. Now, speaking of Clemson and all roads lead to Dabo, we had a very interesting NFL matchup this week between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Very good. Very good matchup.
Which everybody that knows anything about Clemson football was watching that game because our 2 best quarterbacks ever to wear the orange and the white and the purple faced off against each other in Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. What made this matchup interesting, though, however, is that as we know, Trevor Lawrence just signed a new contract where he got paid. I think he's getting paid $55 million a year for 5 years. Well, second highest, tied for the second highest in NFL history, second only to Dakota Prescott.
Ugh.
Yes. But also part of an endorsement deal with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a spokesperson for Everbank.
Hmm.
Everbank is the name sponsor of the Jaguar Stadium. So Trevor Lawrence in his endorsement deal with Everbank was like, hey, for one game, it'd be nice for the Everbank Stadium to be named the Trevor Bank Stadium or Trevor
Oh,
Bank
that's a reach.
Stadium.
That is a reach.
What do you mean it's a reach?
That's a reach.
What do you mean
Trevor.
it's a reach? The Trevor Bank Stadium. That was the name of the stadium.
Scotty D,
this week.
what's the pronunciation of it again, Scotty D?
Trevor.
Go ahead, beat up. I'm sorry.
That Trevor, I had to emphasize that, or the Trevor Bank Stadium. So it was the name of the stadium for this week only. And the Jaguars will lose to the Browns. God almighty. Yep, Trevor Lawrence. This is your stadium. You know, I've been talking about crazy bowl games and the stadium names. What was it? Florida International, the 305 Pitbull Stadium.
Yeah.
Hey, yay. Yeah, the Trevor Bank Stadium and the Jaguars taking out. Eddie Cool, the ball.
I want somebody to name a stadium after me one day. I guess I better get.
Hey, we're still working on the SportsBros Podcast presents the Myrtle Beach Bowl. We're still working on that.
Make it happen, doggone it. Make it happen. Make it happen. Call us. All right, fellas. So Asia Wilson missed everything in the WNBA. She adds another accolade to her season. All right, she becomes the first player in the history of the league to reach 1,000 points in a season as the Aces defeat the Connecticut Sun, according to the Associated Press. Asia Wilson became the first player in WNBA history to score 1,000 points in the season when she finished with 29 in the Vegas Aces' 84-71 win over the Connecticut Sun on Sunday. Wilson hit a pull-up from the elbow with 2 minutes left to reach this mark earlier this week. The Aces star broke the single-season record set that Jewel Lloyd set last year. Vegas called a timeout about 30 seconds later, and her teammates mobbed Wilson. All right, the Aces are 25-13 and hold a 1-game lead over Seattle. Over Seattle, I forgot their name, but they hold it over Seattle. Bro, they don't have the name on here. Over Seattle for the number 4 seed.
Kraken. They're the Kraken.
The Kraken.
No.
Hey, what about that Utah Hockey Club? Anyways, Squirrel. For the home court advantage in that series. Las Vegas has won 7 of its last 8 games. Connecticut trails the Minnesota Lynx by 2 games for the number 2 seed. The 2 teams play in Connecticut on Tuesday. So, hey, man, so shout out to Asia Wilson. Asia Wilson, man, getting it in from South Carolina, you know what I'm saying? Making it happen, man. Winning most stuff. Got to get that get back from losing to LSU this past weekend. Over to you, Scotty D. Get back.
Recently, Dakota Prescott signed a contract for how much was it, Be Live? 4 years?
4 years, $240 million with $231 million guaranteed.
And then went to the podium and said it was never about the money. Okay, we'll just put a pin in that one. Because on Monday afternoon, Sidney Crosby of the Penguins signed a new 2-year extension. Crosby had been making $8.7 million per year on his recent deal that was just about to come due. He's on his last year on it, and he signed a new contract that is going to pay him $8.7 million a year for the next 2 years. He was expected to get a 4-year deal over $10 million and play a little bit hardball with the Penguins, but he opted instead to go for the $8.7 million so his team could sign other players and take one last run of the Stanley Cup. Now, if you want to tell me that contract is because it's not all about the money, I will believe that guy. I believe you, Sidney Crosby, and thank you for winning championships for my favorite hockey team. Something that Dakota Prescott does not do for my football team. Do better. Do better. That's how it's done. Be live.
Ah, this brings so much joy. This brings. Where are you going? Come back here.
You know, do your thing, man. Do your thing.
You come back here and say, because I need you here for this one. I need you here for this one because it brings me so much joy. September 10th, new rankings came out. I know we're in the middle of football season and football. No, this is not foot. It has nothing to do with football whatsoever. The World Dance Sport Federation, known as WDSF, the World Dance Sport Federation released new worldwide rankings for all of their dancers. When I say dance sport, it includes the art form that is known as breaking or break dancing.
No.
Do you want to know who claimed the top spot in the world in breakdancing?
No, not that person again. Not that person again.
Yes, it is that person again. Australian breaker Rachel Gunn, the Olympian widely known as B-Girl Ray Gunn.
Ray Gunn's back.
She is recognized as the number one breaker in the world. Even though she scored 0 points during the Olympics, she is recognized because she won the gold medal at the 2023 World Dance Sport Federation Oceania Championships, securing her 1,000 ranking points and vaulting her up to number one. I cannot believe it. Yes, Ray Gunn is the number one breaker in the world.
What about Turbo? Where's Turbo ranked?
The WDSF, the World Dance Sport Federation, does not recognize the Olympics as part of their ranking system and everything like that. So despite her performance, the last ranking performance was that 2023 championships. And Ray Gunn is the number one breaker in the world. Yeah, that's my third and final pepper point. To the world of breaking, do better.
Oh man, you got to
something. You this can't be real life. United States Breaking Association, go into the inner cities. I guarantee you'll find better breakers. I guarantee you there are better breakers in the world. Just come on.
Our worst breakers are better than that.
I mean, come on, bro.
Well, all right.
And in closing,
all those things. Do something nice.
Yep.
And do something
and in
for your loved
do
ones.
something nice for yourself if you can.
We hijacking this Scotty D.
We'll greatly appreciate it now more than ever. Be a blessing, not a burden. I don't care what they do or say. This has been another episode of the SportsBros Podcast.
We go to the Cheesecake Factory. Yes, sir.
Woo! Educate, enlighten, entertain, and all
we going bowling, baby. We going bowling.
Thanks for listening and watching. See y'all next week.